When people think about getting plastered in New Orleans, they usually think of Bourbon Street, Pat O'Brien's Hurricanes, strip clubs, and street hustlers. Perhaps even more ubiquitous in the Crescent City is the ornamental plaster that adorns many of its historic structures. From uptown New Orleans to the French Quarter and in historic neighborhoods throughout the city, private homes and public buildings are graced inside and out with plasterwork, including decorative molding, ceiling medallions, columns, and more. Plasterers study up to 3 years to make walls and ceilings flat and plumb. They study more than a decade to learn how to make decorative work and spend lifetimes perfecting the art. One hundred, 200, even 300 years ago, master plasterers would create a smooth finish on walls and ceilings and then add elaborately designed moldings and medallions. To gain more time for working the material, they added lime to retard the setting. The drawback to using lime is that it can rehydrate and become soft, resulting in deterioration of the work.
It will take weeks to restore and resculpt the missing parts on this sculpture, and then another bit of time to recast it.
The past mingles with the present in the casting workshop of Poreé Plastering LLC in the Mid-City neighborhood of New Orleans, where old plaster works are restored and new ones created. Pristine Poreé original designs reside among past artists' work in varying phases of decay or rebirth.
Tivoli Theater. This arrived from Italy sometime around 1919, 1920. And this dark mark you see is the remnants of real gold leaf on the original.
Missing or damaged pieces are restored with clay, then coated with rubber. An outer shell of plaster of Paris holds the rubber in place while the new, stronger plaster is cast.
Well, nothing. This is the separating line. That's where the plaster, you see there are two parts, that the shell is in two separate sections. So I can take it, and it also reduces the weight. In Germany we had a crane that would lift the whole thing up here, but this is already about 125 pounds or something of plaster. So I'm going to have another 120. This is going to be very heavy to move in one section, unless I...
Caravella Jones and Ramos create keys that will hold the two separate parts of the plaster shell together. Next, the rubber is coated in oil and then covered in molding plaster. Caravella Jones said the craft involves a lot of different skills: sculpting, carpentry, molding, plastering, and painting.
Yeah, he's been doing this so much, he knows exactly how much water the plaster goes in. So there's no...
Well, don't say that, Chris. Look like there's so much water in my hand.
Caravella Jones had Ramos mix plaster for 2 months before he did anything else in the workshop. At Poreé Plastering, they never drill mix plaster because it speeds up reaction time. And every plaster mix is different, depending on what it is used for. Although he originally learned stone sculpting, Caravella Jones said he enjoys working in plaster. It's not a noble material, but a more decorative material, he said.
I like the job what I'm doing. We fix all the old medallions and we're producing and that's the big thing. That's what I like.
Caravella Jones loves historical work, bringing back to life the work of artists from hundreds of years ago. He takes great care to duplicate their original work as closely as possible, even if it is asymmetrical.
Slow motion.
From an
You
aesthetic
gotta
point
do
of
it
view,
slow
having
motion.
things different makes them more interesting. Now they are ready to cast the new piece. And as for that ceiling medallion that it took Caravella Jones and Ramos about 40 minutes to make, Poreé wasn't satisfied and had them make it over. This is Angèle Bergeron in New Orleans for ConstructionGumbo.com.